welcome back to Ode to Birth podcast. Today, I am so happy and thrilled to be speaking with Emma Moon. She is this incredible high frequency fertility guide and spirit baby communicator and channel, which we're going to learn about. And she says that she's weaving science, spirit, and the sacred into fertility. She's also helping families build their intuition in the conception, during their conception journey. And she's offering lots of nutrition and tips around fertility. So Emma, we're so happy to have you here with us today. Why don't you, I did a little bit of an intro there, but you can share as much as you like in regards to who you are and what brought you into this work.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. And introducing my work is always one of the hardest questions I get asked in interviews because it really feels like I am pioneering the space of that delicate dance between science and spirituality and really weaving in the intuitive and spiritual aspect to support our fertility journeys while also being so mindful that our holistic health, our nourishment, our mindset, our emotional bodies, our energetic bodies, and also our soul alignment is really weaved into that beautiful co-creative journey that we take, calling our spirit babies Earthside. So thank you so much for allowing me to share this work, this beautiful blend. And what I've reflected on really recently also is that beyond supporting families in that preconception and fertility space, my dream that I'm casting out into the universe is that I'm also supporting people to really call in the energies of what their dream family looks like and feels like, and intertwining that into that preconception and fertility journey so that we're also prepared to step into the role once our baby is in our arms. So that continuation of preconception and beyond. And I do this by weaving my background as a holistic nutritionist, a reproductive and sexual health educator, a fertility awareness educator, being a mama myself, and also being a spirit baby channel.
And what I really find interesting about you, Emma, is that you have a history in working as a medical professional, right? You were a nurse at some point, and then you shifted your work into this more esoteric field. It's funny, I don't know, we don't have to go too much into it, but I just find that part about you really curious because that resonates for me because I used to be a medical laboratory assistant slash phlebotomist in the hospitals. And as a highly intuitive person, being in that setting, it can feel really interesting. It can feel really challenging because we see things and feel things maybe a little bit more deeply or differently than I don't know, the average person who's in a medical setting, right? So tell me a little bit more about that and what really was the catalyst for you shifting into this work.
Yes. Oh, I can, as you shared that, I just had this overwhelming sensation of the energetic presence that people bring into like a blood draw and how much that must have been felt in every interaction that you held. And yes, that was my experience. So, right out of high school, I went into a nursing degree. I was 18 years old. I went into a 4-year Bachelor of Science. I graduated, passed my NCLEX first try with as minimal amount of questions as possible, was the epitome of a high achieving, receiving success from outward expectations of what success looks like, into being a registered nurse, thrown to the floors of the world of caring for others in Western medicine. And throughout nursing school, I, I got really physically sick. My gut health deteriorated. My hormonal health was in complete disharmony. I was on hormonal birth control at the time. I was completely disassociated from my own cyclic wisdom. And I had had so many touch points as a patient within the medical system while undergoing my own medical training, where I was completely dismissed, completely told that what I was feeling was invalid and that everything was in my head as I was deteriorating from the inside out. And during this, it led me to explore holistic health. It allowed me to explore nutrition. I had to outsource out of the medical system because I wasn't receiving the help I needed within that setting. And I found myself working with this beautiful constellation of integrative and functional practitioners. And one of the most beautiful moments of my initiation was when I pulled myself off of hormonal birth control, thinking, no matter what I am doing, no matter the diet shifts and the supplements that I'm taking, I'm still not feeling well. So I discontinued hormonal birth control. And it was the best thing that ever happened to me. Within 2 weeks, every single symptom I was suffering with, the panic attacks that were reoccurring, everything just went away. And I was like, whoa, was it really this simple? Reconnecting to my cycle, reconnecting to my inner wisdom, being able to feel emotions on an entirely different level, which were completely blunted while I was on that ovulation suppression medication. And then that completely catalyzed my journey into hormonal health and reproductive health. And when I graduated nursing school, and even as I was working as a nurse, my physical health just never aligned. And it was this barometer of my soul being in misalignment from the energies around me and never really being able to take work and leave it at work. That
I feel
intuitive
that.
self was constant, absolutely constant. And I would be the nurse who knew when a client was going to pass away. I would be the nurse that knew when to be in a certain room before anything happened. And this extra sensory, energetic awareness of everything going around me while simultaneously being in close proximity to people who were not really loving their lives was really difficult on me on a physical level as well. So I took this brave decision and I went back to school for 3 years to study holistic nutrition at a really beautiful college in Victoria, BC. And it actually took until I was pregnant with my daughter to get an injury as a registered nurse to completely disconnect me from that job and give it a partying ceremony. And I am closing this chapter. The universe had to step in. But it was hard and I was very unwell. And I was unwell until it woke me up.
Mm.
And I'm so glad it did.
Wow, yeah, you have so much lived experience and this spectrum of wellness, right? What does wellness look like within the modern medical system versus what does wellness look like in this holistic, intuitive, taking care of self, higher self. So that's what I love about you is you have this amazing amount of lived experience and you took initiative within yourself to be on this path. And now you're taking initiative to support other women to get on the same path or at least get on the same wavelength so that they can have their aha moments, their catalyst moments. And you're also helping people connect with their spirit baby. And I want to hear a little bit more about that because for some of the listeners, this concept of spirit baby might be new. So please share, what does it mean to even have a spirit baby or to call in a spirit baby? And I'd even like to touch on miscarriage and sacred release, abortion, when we're working with this energy, is there some sort of karma, bad karma? How can we deepen our relationship with our spirit baby so that we don't feel bad if we need to release them? So that can be a conversation that we can have during this talk today.
Yes, please definitely guide the conversation so we continue unraveling each of those really important inquiries that you brought up, because spirit babies, the concept of spirit babies really lends a really healing touch to every area and how we hold ourselves in those moments of indecision or grief. And it really helps catalyze our healing journey. So, to rewind a little bit into even what is a spirit baby, and I laugh and you can tell that I'm smiling because we have over popularized this term of spirit baby. There's a book by Walter McKinnon, Spirit Babies. It's incredibly popular. It introduced this concept worldwide. And it also, in a way, the context of spirit baby, I feel it underrepresents what a spirit baby is. So, a spirit baby or an incoming soul is that of a soul that is preparing to incarnate or who has spent time in utero and has left back to the astral realm, whether they feel like they would like to come again and attempt to incarnate fully into their body, or whether their temporary incarnation was to experience unconditional love within our wombs and to really bring about healing and transformation in that womb holder and in their own soul journey, and to return back into the astral realm where they get to remain a guiding force, an angel guide in that context. Not every spirit baby desires to incarnate. Sometimes that's never their full intention. And some desire to come into our wombs and to return at a later time. Now, the concept of spirit babies is the concept that we reincarnate as souls. And it is my true belief that when we pass on from these physical bodies, our bodies may cease to exist, but our soul continues on. And in that soul journey, and whether we are incarnating across the cosmos, which I also hold a personal belief that we do, that we experience physical bodies here on earth, but also elsewhere. We go through healing and we go through transformation, and we have this desire for new experiences. And more recently, a deep desire to help planet Earth, and this deep desire to volunteer our time here to help raise the frequency, raise the energy, and raise the consciousness of Earth so that we may save her, so that we may help her shift, and so that we may undo a lot of harm that we have done here in order for Mother Earth to continue to regenerate and thrive as she is cohesively connected to our galaxy, but also the universal energy. So souls will decide to come in and incarnate into a body here on Earth.
That's a big project. What a big undertaking, I must say. This is just a huge undertaking.
It's so big. It's so big. And there's still so much hope there. There is. And even every single soul that comes in with the intention of supporting, even if it's just their presence and their pure state of light and love to contribute in some way, I feel like that's better than them not wanting to come at all. There's a lot of learning. There's a massive learning opportunity here. It's a huge undertaking. And it also gives a lot of hope for people who feel as though they want children and they're afraid to bring children into the circumstances of Earth presently. So to know that there are a wave of souls who wish to come here so that they can at least try, at least bring in their energy and bring in their skill set that we don't necessarily have. What I call this generation is we're this bridge generation. We're the generation in which we are operating from an older software system, and we are essentially calling in these higher vibrational beings so that they can incarnate through our bodies, and we get to birth this new human into the world, this soul who is in a body and in a family in which we know where they came from, who they are, and what they're here for right from the get-go. And they get to go on and live their life in reverence to the land and in reverence for themselves as a soul, and not as separate, but as part of this massive collection of souls. And in that is this beautiful opportunity for a generation, our children and our grandchildren and their grandchildren, to, rather than spend time deconditioning themselves and finding themselves and healing generations of trauma like we are, they get to be birthed into this world with the focus of helping the world.
Mm.
It's almost like there's this shift that's happening, and we are doing massive work right now so that our vessels are prepared to bring in this new wave of souls. So that's what a spirit baby is. And their mission is large and their mission is big, and connecting to that energy, because they essentially are magnetized towards us and towards opportunities in the world. We get to build that relationship with them prior to conception. And we get to use that continued connection channel to really co-create their life here alongside us.
So I feel, Emma, that you have done so much good work. And I've sat with you in the Red Tent during one of Red Tent Mystery School's womb initiation retreats. That was a very profound experience. I love that you've come into seeing yourself and loving yourself so deeply, with the pureness and connecting in with your cycle after coming off of hormonal birth control. You are now living this beautiful path and embodying soul purpose. And I see you as someone that's so clear, and you will definitely be the woman that I want to connect with when I'm ready to call in that first spirit baby. I feel as though intuitively there are three that will not leave me alone. But I'm having a hard time chatting with them and having more communication, like deeper communication, with them. You know, I'd like to try and practice a conscious conception, with my partner when that time comes. And so for the listeners, could you please share what that means, having a conscious conception, and how you help families and couples manifest this conscious conception?
Yes. Conscious conception is another word that carries so much weight to it, and also meaning, in that we are moving away from the societal norm of, when we want to become pregnant, we then open the window and go right into it, into this new wave of intentionally approaching conception through means of consciously preparing our mind, body, and soul, and also our relationship, our expectations of what family life may look like, how we feel fulfilled on a soul level, and how we engage with not only ourself and our bodies, but also with this spirit. Because now, if we have this perspective, perhaps someone's listening to this podcast and they're like, whoa, there's another soul involved in this journey. There's my soul, there's my partner's soul. And in some dynamics, there may be a donor seed involved. And there's also the soul of this incoming spirit, this future child of the listeners, of yours, of mine, of a future families. And this incoming soul also has a say in the dynamics, in the frequency, in the astrological orientation of their conception and their birth portals. So the way I view conscious conception is, how can we become in our most aligned version of ourselves, our most thriving, our most fertile, our most embodied, our most luscious and loving selves, in preparation to not only be the healthiest physical vessel we can be to hold and gestate and birth these babies earthside, but so that we may engage with a conception opportunity, not necessarily only on our own timeline, but also the timeline of that incoming soul. So how I help families do this, how I help couples come together to call in their spirit babies, depends on who I'm working with. But what is overlapping and definitely a common thread is connecting self back to their own intuition, connecting back to your psychic channels and how you receive energetic information. And just like any muscle, the more we practice, the more we become clear with, and the more confident we are in how that connection feels, how it looks like, we are able to keep those channels of communication more open. So, a big thing that stands in the way from connecting to our spirit babies is simply our expectation and how they are to communicate with us. And a really beautiful practice that I run a lot of people through is discovering what psychic channel they receive information through. So we have our clairs, right? We can be clairsentient, we can be clairaudient, we can be claircognizant. So it depends on how we intuitively receive information. So reflecting back on whether you receive information through dreams, whether you have intuitive hits, you just have this overwhelming knowing that something may happen, whether you have inner dialogue, inner communication within your mind that feels like you are talking to yourself, but the information feels outside of you. Whether you feel a physical presence when you are in a container where other energies are present, whether you feel physical touch or energy sensations such as cold or warmth or even smelling certain smells. So, how do your senses interact with an energy? That is going to be the similar route, the similar channel that your spirit baby is going to uniquely communicate with you. And you can simply sit in stillness, allowing yourself to get into that parasympathetic state. We need that silence, we need that stillness, and we need our nervous system to feel safe enough to open up our psychic channels so that the information can then be received. So this can be really well facilitated within a meditation space. It can be really easy to connect kind of when we're waking up in the morning or when we're going to bed at night. It can be really easy to connect when we're in the bath or a shower, when our nervous system is well regulated. And in that space, all we need is intention, calling in that spirit baby and asking for them to show you, how do you communicate with me? May you show me an example of how I can open this connection channel and know it's you when you're connecting. And then just to wait, to become really open to anything that comes to you in that moment, whether you just feel an energy shift, perhaps your shoulder feels warm, or perhaps you begin to receive this inner dialogue of words, or perhaps you see symbols like a dream. It can be that simple. It really can be that simple. And then another way that is one of my absolute favorite ways to connect is asking them for a sign or a symbol and being very direct in, is this a sign you're sending me, or can you use this specific sign to communicate with me? My next spirit baby sign is owls. And I'm very clear that every time I see an owl, I think of my next spirit baby. And I ask them in my mind, continue to send me owls so that I can continuously have confirmation that you are here and that you are ready to come through. And I can't even tell you how many owls I've seen in the last month.
Wow.
Beyond the normal coincidence. Well, I don't believe in coincidences. So just to have that little back and forth, that inner dialogue, and every time you come upon a question of, am I ready? When do you want to come through? What do I need to do in order to be my best self for your arrival? Or if you have experienced loss, are you coming back? What happened? Can you bring me more clarity? Or can you just send me a sign so I know you are still with me? These are all really profound and accessible ways we can connect with that soul to feel more confident that we are co-creating our conception with them on board, and that we aren't forcing things, and we aren't working from our brain, and we're rather working from divine timing.
It feels very ethereal, but it feels very real and it feels very possible. And I'm wondering now if once you've established this mode of communication, this dyad between you and spirit baby, we could then ask the spirit baby, what is it? Okay, this is what I know you're needing from me. What is it that you're needing from my partner or whoever else is involved with helping this family have a baby? I'm just wondering, yeah, if it's possible to communicate with spirit baby and say, okay, I'm doing my part. Is there something that they need to do in order to make this possible? And will they be able to provide that answer?
Yes. So absolutely. We can most definitely inquire anything. And usually they'll straight up tell you if that's an answer they're willing to or can answer. And there's this avenue of being able to do so much in someone else's life path. So a lot of the times we'll have partners that may not be open to, or they don't have, their belief system isn't congruent with the possibility of a spirit baby, or they're open to, but they don't feel as though that connection channel is available to them. And it is so normal. If anybody here is listening and you feel like your direct connection channel to your spirit baby is not presently available to you, continue to do your inner work, continue to work on your nervous system, and continue to work on your energy body, and continue to nourish yourself fully. And when you get to a point where you feel nourished and grounded and safe and loved, that is a space in which our connection channels can slowly have the soil they need to blossom and open up. And in that, your spirit baby is still right alongside you. Their call, their whispers may just feel a little bit more subtle. So, really practicing that connection channel without the frustration of whether you hear anything or see anything or receive anything. The more you connect in, the stronger that relationship and the stronger your confidence in that connection channel will get. Now, you can absolutely ask them, I'm doing everything I can. You're communicating with me the timing that you need. Now, is there anything my partner, your father, this parent needs from you in order for you to come? And they can give us direct access so that we can be an inspiration. We can be a support. We can empower our partner to take action. And one of my favorite strategies also is inviting our spirit babies to then send the energy code, send the communication that is needed directly to our partner. Invite them to show up in their dreams. Invite them to catalyze a moment of growth that we may know. I know exactly who sent you that initiation. And they may not know it presently, but that initiation, that self inquiry, that reflection piece is the piece they need to become who they need to be for our future child. So we get to co-create, and they're doing so much on their end to provide the stepping stones they need in order to come through these clear, conscious, and connected vessels. And they love co-creating. So yes, you can ask them anything. You truly can.
Ooh, my body is full on quivering. Like my bones are shaking because what you're sharing is real. It's wisdom that needs to be shared to the world. And when I get these like shaky feelings, it's excitement and it's confirmation that this truth being revealed is so necessary at this time. And so, yeah, I just wanted to share that with you right now. Just full body chills and quivers. Oh. So another message that I was receiving when I'm working one-on-one with clients that come to see me for a sacred release, or also known as abortion and miscarriage. I see a lot of women for miscarriage and healing after miscarriage. And the message that I'm still continuing to receive from these spirit babies and these energies is that they are our ancestors. They are our ancestors from past history. And they once knew the earth when it was at a different frequency in a different time. So they're trying to come back onto planet Earth and land on planet Earth inside the wombs of women here on the planet, the womb holders here on the planet. But once they land, and maybe it's a few weeks later or a few months later, or even close to full term, they realize that the earth is not what it once was, and they actually are not equipped with what is necessary to have a healthy and vital life on planet earth. And they're also feeling just underprepared. Oh my gosh, I have to go back up to the astrals and do a little bit more work, a little bit more soul work, soul contract work, so that when I do choose to come back, I am well equipped and able to live a healthy and vital life on planet Earth. Does that resonate with you, Emma? Are you also hearing that when you're working with clients that have had miscarriage?
Yes, definitely. Yes. So, miscarriage is often a preparation time. And what I have also experienced beyond the plethora, I would say majority of loss, is a soul coming in, taking that opportunity to spend time in utero and being overwhelmed by the energy that is present, the density, the frequency that earth is resonating at, and the amount that our bodies are inundated with from an exposure, from an informational load, and the way our nervous systems are so reactive here. There's no way of fully communicating that to an energy who has either not been here in a very long time. Their past experience in a body is all they have to kind of reflect back on. And they can be prepared on an information level, or perhaps it's even a soul that has not been to earth before, and they've had incarnations and they've been to other worlds, but they have not spent time somewhere as dense as earth is. So they come into the body, and implantation, the moment in which that embryo touches down to the wall of the endometrium and it connects into our energy field and it becomes part of us, that soul then experiences life through that womb holder's body. It sees through their eyes, their ears, their heart. They feel everything from the moment of implantation moving forward. And that can be a very overwhelming time for a soul. And sometimes they will go, whoa, that was a little bit more than I was prepared for. As a protective mechanism, I'm going to pull out, I'm going to go back to the astral realm, and I will return. But I will catalyze events in that womb holder's life so that when I return, they're in a space where they are more grounded. They've set some energetic boundaries, and they're going to receive me in a space in which feels more manageable for me. And I've done a lot more soul work, so I'm coming in more prepared. And that can happen at any point in time in pregnancy. Another thing that comes through often is what has been shown to me as light seeding. And a light seed is when a soul consciously comes in through that conception portal, but they have no intention of fully incarnating into a body, but rather than the blueprint of the body coming through to be birthed into life, they use that conception portal as a way of bringing down and anchoring light codes into our womb. They bring in information, they bring in an energetic shift, they bring in a catalyzing moment so that that womb holder's entire energetic system, because remember, we're working on old software. They're coming in with software that is far more advanced than we are presently running. The analogy I like to think of is, you think of our laptop. Think of when we are working that laptop to its max. The fans are going, all of our tabs are opening. We are working that software system to its absolute max capacity so it can perform at the level we want it to perform at. That is essentially how we are operating our systems. We are raising our energy. We are operating our systems at max capacity. And that's what's required of our bodies when we're bringing in these high vibrational beings. That could be a completely other podcast topic. So a soul knows this, and they bring in codes of transformation, of light, that are needed to be brought into our system to clear trauma imprints from our womb space, to clear, alchemize, heal, so that when they come back, because they absolutely intend to, they are coming into a vessel that has the capacity to hold that frequency. Sometimes our bodies don't have the capacity to hold that high vibrational soul yet. And I do see miscarriage and reoccurrent loss as this back and forth of whether our body can hold that frequency or whether that soul can really hold the frequency of earth. Now, back into the conversation of that intentional release. And anytime we feel like that soul may be ready, but as a sovereign womb holder in our own bodies, we don't feel ready yet. That is also held with so much love and so much grace. And a lot of the times that soul knows that that release is going to happen. And that is why that thought pattern is even in your mind. They know the trajectory of that conception, and they still choose to come anyways, because the learning opportunity, the light seeds, the codes of wisdom and transformation that that entire experience holds for that womb holder is a gift wrapped up in the grief and the difficult moment of it all. And they still choose to come in and experience that love within your body, to hold that connection with you, even if you don't feel like you are ever going to consciously choose to invite them back. And in that, we can also directly communicate and have this channel of communication with any soul that has left on their own terms, who an accident has happened to, or that we have consciously asked them to vacate. That conversation can continuously unravel so that we can understand, so that we can learn from it, and so that we can have this beautiful dialogue with that soul. And in that, there is never any feelings of regret or resentment or anger. They don't even have the capacity to hold emotions of that frequency. They understand with open hearts and are seeing us in so much love. And they will continuously hold you in that light because they see your potential. And if they want to come back, they will either come back through you in this lifetime, or if you say no, they'll come back with you in a future lifetime, or we can even release them so that they may come through a family member, or they can find another member of their soul family to go to if their incarnation is lifetime specific. So as you can see, this channel of communication has the opportunity to support not only preconception, not only calling in consecutive siblings, but also massive self-healing, self-initiations, and huge healing opportunities when we are faced with the challenges of miscarriage or intentional release or any spectrum of baby loss.
In hearing this, I feel so much gratitude and peace in my heart, especially as I reflect on the 2 miscarriages that I've had in the past. And hearing you share this information really gives me permission to not feel guilt, not feel shame. And knowing that my womb was going through an upgrade, I was receiving an energetic upgrade thanks to this soul and thanks to this energy. And I always knew that, right? There's a part of me that felt deep down Like this was a ceremony, and I treated those 2 miscarriages very much like ceremony. I buried the pregnancy tissue into the earth with a rose bush and set some intention and so much love because I could feel the love. And I knew that there was something happening outside of myself, and I could just trust it, right? So thank you so much for being this clear channel for us to receive this information, Emma, because I know there are a lot of women that are struggling and feeling like they made the wrong choice, or is this soul going to come back? Did I do something wrong here? No, it sounds like what I'm hearing from you share is that this was an opportunity for an upgrade, a cleansing, a clearing, a healing, so that, the womb space is in a different frequency, because these souls that are meant to land and live and be present, sharing their skills on planet Earth, are of a higher caliber. They are here to share so much magic and wisdom onto the planet to support Mother Earth and her process, right? And so, how can we take responsibility as womb holders and as women to find healing within ourselves, go through these initiations, go through these upgrades, and receive this unconditional love that's available to us through the experience of miscarriage and abortion and just pregnancy release in general? um, it's our responsibility, it sounds like, to move through these initiations with grace and to not feel guilt and shame in those lower density vibrations. It's our responsibility to lean into it and to love it and honor it.
I have goosebumps, and those are my truth bumps as well. And also giving women and womb holders permission to feel the grief, to feel the sadness, to feel the hurt of the expectation and the dream that was planted within your body when you felt that soul merge with yours for the future, and to grieve that future that was taken away from you in that moment as well. And to know that simultaneously, while having and holding and moving through grief, we can still be deeply initiated to hold in it the gratitude and the gift that that experience offered us. And that two of those opposing sensations can be true all at one moment. So not to necessarily bypass this sensation of we must move through this with such high frequency love, even though it's something that we are so crushed by, but to hold both of those simultaneously. I have been brought to my knees by this experience. This is absolutely heart-wrenching. I am in such a deep grief, and what can I learn from this? What is the gift in this? And how is this bringing me one step closer to the person I need to be for the moment that soul feels ready to stay? And in that entire experience, I too have been initiated through that. I miscarried in October, and it brought me to my knees. And that self inquiry and that connection with my spirit baby as I am pregnant, I'm sitting and rocking in meditation, feeling like this soul is communicating to me. I am here just like I told you I would be, and I don't plan on staying. And being confronted by receiving that information and wanting with all my body for it not to be true, to then giving my body full permission to release that soul, because their intention was never to stay. Their intention was to bring in that energetic upgrade so that my vessel could be more prepared for their next arrival. So what I share is shared from also experience and from walking that path and from holding that connection with my spirit baby so strongly before, during, and after that loss, and continuously into my preconception journey, and learning from them and that experience, as well as all of the sessions that I have done with clients. So I feel that's so important to say, is that we can hold all of those energies at once. The invitation for anyone hearing this is just to reflect in and also see the opportunity that has been gifted to you through it.
And you don't have to be alone through that journey, right? In the moment of understanding and becoming aware that this pregnancy is actually on the way out, um, it's important for us to have these resources. People like you, Emma, people like me, and other women in the community that we can call upon. You know, I feel like this pregnancy, it wants to go. I need a circle of women around me. I'm the kind of person that wants to have someone coming up and bringing me bone broth, rubbing my feet, and crying with me. Um, I mean, there have been times where I felt like I needed to be alone, but for the most part, I enjoy the company of other women or anybody, children, you know, to help uplift me through the experience. A good phone call with mom or a phone call with someone even on the other side. And that brings me to my next question for you, because you recently made a post about how when oftentimes a family member is passing, there is also this pregnancy that's coming through, right? And so if you could just elaborate a little bit more on this, because this is becoming more and more obvious, right? And we're starting to see this connection in the astral realms between the loved ones that are passing on and the new souls that are trying to come through.
Yes, this topic is so dear to my heart, and what a gift it has been for that post to be seen so far and wide. And I've noticed this since I was a young girl in this pattern, this tapestry that I was seeing being woven in front of me, and the truth that it carries in my own lived experience with my sisters and family members and friends. Anytime a spirit baby is ready to come through or is gestating or even close to that birth portal, a family member typically will leave their body to fulfill the role of supporting that soul to come through. And pets can also do this. Who better? Who knows your family more deeply? Who is more observant to the dynamics of your family than one of your dear fur babies to honor that passing of the torch, this life cycle that even to the least spiritual person, if you ask them and inquire, and I believe that's why that post got so much traction, is if you simply say, have you ever noticed the phenomena that when someone is passing, a child is coming through in that same soul family? And I have yet to meet a single person who cannot reference an experience that they have held within or that they know of this happening. And I truly believe that it is this former generation who is parting from their completion, who is choosing to leave their bodies because they have a larger duty to fulfill and helping that incoming soul prepare for the family that they are coming into, to
Wow.
give them that helping hand, because we talked about how dense earth is right now. Incoming souls are needing all the help they can get to feel confident, to feel ready enough, and to feel held in their experience, moving from such a high vibrational space into the density of not only being in a body, but the density of earth specifically. So our family members are gifting them that helping hand, that information, that wisdom transfer, and really welcoming them earthside into a place that is overwhelming. It truly is. And I believe there's a really sacred moment that happens there. And we can kind of relook at family members who are passing and know that there's a really strong connection to a soul that is being welcomed in Earthside simultaneously.
And this is another reminder that birth and death are very similar. And within the realms of birth and death, we call this the veil. And as we approach childbirth, as we approach death, the veil becomes really thin. And so in hearing you share this, it's just confirmation that birth and death are very similar. And when a woman is moving through the process of releasing a pregnancy or giving birth to a full-term baby, she is in this place of this liminal realm where the veil is really thin, and she's very receptive, so sensitive, able to feel things beyond anyone else that's not necessarily close to childbirth or death. And just a reminder to treat this person with so much respect and to bow down to this person that's in this liminal realm, right? It's not a time to be imposing or trying to coerce them into something they don't want to do. It's not a time to try and give them lots of information. It's a time to let them be present with the energy that needs to come through so that they can approach this experience with grace and to allow for the process to unfold without any trauma, because we do not need any more trauma on the planet. And so, yeah, I'm so grateful that you're sharing this information with us, and we're receiving confirmation that we need to hold a woman through the process of childbirth with so much gentleness and not be in a place of forcing anything or a place of that's all that I'm hearing, right? I should probably just stop there. But yeah, I know that when my brother was in the process of transitioning, I could see over his physical body this white-ish, like kind of looked like a fog over his body or a mist over his body. And my mom was in the room and she was just holding on to his hand. And energetically, I could feel him wavering in between his body, his physical body, and wanting to go up. And that was really hard to witness that and to feel that and have this clear cognizant, like, oh, I don't think this is gonna end very well. He's definitely gonna go. So there was this really interesting scenario that unfolded and transpired after his passing, and a spirit baby was present on the earthly plane, and then it passed. I want to bow down to this woman that was holding the spirit baby, because now what we can see is they're together in the astrals, my brother and this beautiful little baby. And I got confirmation from a medium that they're up there, and my brother gets to be with his child in, astral realm. And it just is such a special thought, and it takes away the pain and the challenge here on earth in the reality that he's no longer physically with us, but knowing that he's there with his sweet little baby is so, so sweet. And to hear you share with us, Emma, that baby was helping him move through and transition, because I was hearing from him for months, like, well, I don't know what to do, Maddie, like, this is fucking bullshit. I don't know how, like this is really hard. I don't know. He couldn't let go of like earthly plane. It was really hard for him to let go. And knowing that I had support in helping him transition and just go off and do your work up there, buddy, is really nice. So thank you for sharing this. So beautiful.
You for also sharing that connection in which our spirit babies also support and hold souls who are transitioning and crossing the veil in that other direction, because that is absolutely a truth that walks and continues to walk through. And we may even see that pregnancy or baby loss in conjunction with another soul who is parting. And we have to hold that mystery in that they know so much more than we do. They see the full picture. They see the entire grid from a bird's eye cosmic view in which our human brains can never fully comprehend. And to feel safe and to just trust that spirit baby, that soul, that enlightened being, unattached from their bodies presently, they are so wise. They likely know way more than you do. And to surrender and give our trust to their process and to hold them through that process with that trust, I feel like that is so, so important. And while I was a registered nurse, I worked a lot in end of life, and I sat at the bedsides holding the hands of many who were passing the veil, who were continuing on from this body into the astral realm, into their next evolution, their next journey. And that was one of the most transformational stepping stones in allowing me to perceive this incredible connection between death and conception, and death and birth, and how this continuation of souls leaving and souls coming through is this cycle, this beautiful cosmic law that repeats itself wherever we go. If we have that awareness to really hold space for the beauty that is unfolding in those moments.
May we always honor these cycles of life, death, and rebirth. There's just so much more for us to explore than what we know to be life, death, and rebirth. It's a continuum, like you're saying. And I feel so grateful to be able to have women that understand these concepts and feel these concepts so true. And when we're sharing this information, it's really coming from the heart and it's coming from the womb. And the more that we keep doing this work and diving into the truth of it all and diving into the mysticism and the magic without feeling shame or fear of persecution, we are healing intergenerations of for other women to move forward and for our daughters to continue sharing this information and to move through their cycles and honor their cycles in a way that is conducive to healing for this planet and for Mother Earth and for more future generations. And so thank you, Emma, for being here and for being bright and shining your light. You're just emanating on the screen. Is there anything else that you want to share with the audience today, whoever is listening? How can women and families connect with you? Please share.
Holding my heart open to all of that and just feeling so much love and so much gratitude to also be sitting with you and to be able to have this conversation. Something that's coming through as wanting to be shared as a response to you bringing up this privilege that we have in this time right now is that being in our power, being completely attuned to our wombs and our cycles and our oracular abilities as womb holders, and being seen and held in this power and this what we so call esoteric wisdom. You are so much more psychic than you give yourself permission to be. And as someone walking the path who is of European descent, whose ancestors were burned for being in their power, who holds that fear within me for being seen in my power, part of your fertility and self-expansion and soul alignment journey is to break free from that generational trauma and to know that you exist in a time in which you are safe to be fully embodied in your magic. And that embodying your magic and understanding that your future child is a soul incarnating into this world, that in and of itself, that awareness, your openness to the concept of spirit babies is transformational to the future generation and how they see themselves, how they're parented, and how they're seen from you, and how we as womb holders and mothers or mothers to be and families and parents, how we do have hope to change the future. So being seen and exploring and giving yourself permission to be your most magical self is one of the biggest blessings and honors and gifts that you can give everyone who has come before you, but every child that comes ahead of you as well. And if you would love to continue this conversation with me, if you would love to follow my work, you can find me over at Cosmically Nourished on Instagram. That seems to be where I hang out most days. And over there, you'll learn about a new fertility app that I'm launching. My beautiful community has said that they want fertility and spirit baby meditations, and they want a space to be able to connect and to be their most magical selves. And my absolute passion is being a voice and an educator and inspiring people on how to weave the magic, weave the sacred into their preconception, their fertility, and their pregnancy, and their magical mothering journeys. So you can find more out about that offering. It's called the Milky Way over at Cosmically Nourished. And I'm just so grateful for all you listeners and for you for holding this space. So thank you.
My pleasure, Emma. You are incredible. Sending you so much love. Blessings to you, to your family. I cannot wait to listen to this over and over again and feel into the truth of all of this.